This book, more than any other book, to me, it was less like, hey, here's how things work and here's some options you have. This book seemed a lot more like, here's how people think, and once you know that, here's some tricks to manipulate them. What's up, everybody? This is Jordan Tremaine with another book review, and today is another book that I've listened to on audio, so I don't have a copy of it. Actually, no, that's a lie. I read this book, but then I moved houses and I lost this book. So I have a screenshot of it right now. But the book is How Highly Effective People Speak. How high performers use psychology to influence with ease by Peter D. Andrei. And we're gonna get into it. If you've been on this channel for a while, or if you scroll back and watch a couple of videos, you can start seeing some themes emerge. I like sci-fi books. I like psychology books. I like history books, investment books. This book, I think, is more along of practical psychology. Psychology that you can learn, but not just as theory, like what's an application of it, how do you use it. I've read a couple books like that, which are like Nudge and Poor Charlie's Almanac and Thinking Fast and Slow. I'll put a couple in the description below. And I thought that this was kind of going to be in that line, so I picked it up and I was like, let me see how this works. Maybe I can become a better speaker or learn how to communicate better and all that kind of stuff. And before I keep going, I want to say that the author wrote his book. I'm doing a review of it. These are my thoughts. This may not necessarily be the author's intent, but this is what I got out of the book. So take that with a grain of salt. But out of all these kind of books that I've read about how to be more effective in dealing with other people, how to understand how the human mind works and all this kind of stuff, this book, more than any other book, to me, it was less like, hey, here's how things work and here's some options you have. This book seemed a lot more like, here's how people think, and once you know that, here's some tricks to manipulate them. And manipulation is not always a bad thing. Like when you have kids and they're like little kids and they don't want to do whatever's in their best interest, sometimes you manipulate them into doing something that's good for them. Like you trick them into going to the dentist or something like that. So manipulation is not always bad, but the kind of tone of this book seemed questionable to me, because it seemed like this guy was trying to just teach you how to get what you want through using psychological tricks. Not necessarily how to understand how things work so you don't get messed up, but how to use these things to your advantage to get other people to kind of like do what you want them to do. So this could just be his style of talking, because you can definitely read this book and later not manipulate people but still gain valuable skills. But just kind of the examples that he used and the language that was going on inside of the text, to me it seemed like it was encouraging you to take advantage of people, which that's personally not me. But I would guess because people out in the world do that kind of thing, some people are into that. So if that's your thing, here you go. But that aside, I did think there was some interesting examples of different things that go on between humans. So people just misunderstanding things, or the way the mind works, you're like more susceptible to this or that. And I thought that the main value of this book for me was the examples. I took them as a lot of like manual on how to manipulate people, but because personally I don't really feel like I'm actively interested in manipulating people, like because I was reading the examples, like this is how you do it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. Where it's helpful to be aware of things, even if it's something that you're not going to do. It's helpful, like let's say you're not a religious person, but you live in the United States. It's very helpful to know about Christianity, because Christianity is the main religion in the United States, and a bunch of people in the United States are Christian. So it's helpful to know about it, even if you don't believe it at all, even if you think it's wrong. A bunch of your neighbors base a lot of their lives off of it. So maybe it's important to know a couple of basics so that you can deal with the people around you. And that's kind of how I took this book, where even if I'm not interested, and the book did not kind of blatantly say, like, this is how you manipulate people. It used other words like persuade. But even if I'm not interested in aggressive persuasion, it's good to know about that, because other people are interested in it, and other people might try to do this to me or do this to one of my friends, and it's good to have some experience in that, so you can say, like, oh, I see what's going on. Maybe I can make this choice or that choice. So I would say, personally for me, other books like Thinking Fast and Slow and Nudge and what is that book? Sway, were much more up my alley. They are kind of in the same genre, but more about understanding and less about this like aggressive persuasion thing. But this book fits in right there, and it has some decent information. I think the writing was a little rushed, so sometimes it was a little hard to read. Like the other people might have been better writers, but decent information in here. But I think there's other books that are better than it. If you've read all those books and you're still interested, go for this. Great, cool. But I don't know, wasn't my speed. But I did read it, so I'm doing a book review. And yeah. So this has been George Tremaine Book Reviews with how highly effective people speak, how high performers use psychology to influence with ease, which I thought was really interesting, where the author of this book is trying to like make this claim and reinforce this claim that this is what high performers do. I've went and talked to different high performers, this is how they act. And it kind of like, to me, was like casting like, oh yeah, people that perform high are manipulators. And I was like, I know some people that are pretty high performers that don't manipulate. So that was kind of like weird to me. Interesting. And maybe all the people he talked to that were high performers were like this. But I can definitely say that not every high performer is like this. And the book has this tone, I think, that's trying to make you think that if you want to be a high performer, you got to use these tactics on other people. And I'm like, sometimes you just want to talk to people. Sometimes I want to have a good working relationship with somebody, and I'm not just trying to play chess with them and take their king out all the time. So be careful with that if you're going to read this book. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking about this book, and I will see you guys next time.